This meeting has been called to order. Good evening and welcome to the Southeast Delco School District Board Business Meeting of the Board of School Directors, Thursday, July 27th, 2023. We'll have a salute to the flag and a roll call. Well, I'm going to change that up. We'll have a salute to the flag, a moment of silence, and then we're going to have acknowledgement of the death of Ethan Joyner, Ethan Joyner, Academy Park High School student, which occurred on July 13th, 2023, and then we'll have a roll call vote for Mr. Butler. Please stand for him. We'll also have a one moment of silence for Ethan Joyner, our Academy Park High School student. Um, Thank you. Mr. Butler, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes, you may, Madam President. Ms. Perry, excused. Mrs. Washington, excused. Ms. Womack.
Present.
Ms. Woodfolk.
Present.
Dr. Hayward.
Present.
Ms. Harris Johnson.
Present.
Dr. Jack.
Present.
Mr. Fowler.
Present.
Ms. Monroe Whitsett.
Present.
Dr. Winder.
Present.
Mr. DiOrio.
Present.
Mr. Butler, present.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. There is no student board report at this time. Dr. Winder, do you have a report?
Yes. It is time for our final comprehensive update for the 2022-2023 school year. First, we had our first goal, which was strategies to increase student attendance. We had used our Future Ready, our attendance data, and our staff input to establish that goal. The first goal was parent and family engagement was the first outcome. During the retreat, we discussed the need to ensure that the data is accurate and reflects the same information. So we did some calibration to ensure that everyone was putting the same information in for family engagement. APHS counselors, teachers, and administration made contact with many parents. I know you see the NA there, but many of their meetings and contacts surrounded ensuring Act 158 was being completed, as well as other graduation requirements, as well as social emotional health was covered. Due to the multiple discussions occurring at once, the number's not captured here because it's also captured in other places. And so if you see here overall in the district, for each marking period, you'll see at the bottom the total as well as by school. As always, this PowerPoint will be posted so that you will have an opportunity to go through each of the numbers. Next, we have perfect attendance, and perfect attendance was taken for each marking period. We are proud of each of our students that had perfect attendance for at least one marking period. Our goal is to increase our perfect attendance numbers in each of our buildings. Next, we had student perfect attendance for all year. These students had their perfect attendance all year. Each of them will be recognized at the beginning of the school year, and they've already been recognized from their school, but they'll be recognized from the superintendent's office. This took dedications on the students and the parents' part. The Southeast Delco School District applauds these 16 students, and we see the grade as well as how many students for each of our grades. Next, we have our staff perfect attendance for all year. Last year, we had many discussions regarding lack of substitutes, and in addition, we decreased the large number of class coverages that were needed. We had a total of 8 staff members that were present every day in the 22-23 school year. I think we should give them a hand. We are grateful for their perseverance. They will be recognized at opening day ceremonies for the 2023-2024 school year. They will receive a personal invite if they usually do not attend the opening day to ensure that they are there. We plan to give them a plaque as well as a incentive award. Then the last part of our attendance of the plan was improve attendance. We wanted to recognize that although students may have not had perfect attendance, we wanted to see that second, third, and fourth marking period, they at least improve their attendance. The data shows us that we need to target that fourth marking period for all schools to ensure that students continue to improve their attendance. As we look at many of the schools, they dropped off from increasing and improving in that fourth marking period. We know that once the weather changes, a lot of things are going on, so we've started discussing what can we do to help improve that fourth marking period. Congratulations to the students and parents for making the commitment to improve attendance and for coming to the attendance meetings that the staff held. So this data here shows the attendance patterns for our schools individually as well as the district. I selected 18-19 because that was pre-COVID, and we see that as a district, the attendance overall was at 77.16. Then we had 2019-20, 2020-2021 were our COVID years, and we see that in our 21-22 school year, attendance was low. So when we did our comprehensive plan, we knew we needed to target attendance because we have to have our students present in order for them to get high quality instruction as well as small group assistance. So then we put things into place for the 22-23 school year, and these numbers are students that have been absent less than 10% or 18 days as measured by the Pennsylvania State Department. We see that for Academy Park, they had an increase of 0.03%. We see that Darby Township really worked on theirs, and we know that was one of the places I discussed in another update that I was able to go to a couple of their incentives that they had on a monthly basis, and they increased 12.76%. Delcroft increased 7.0%, Harris 6.54%, Sharon Hill 2.93%, Kindergarten Center 9.38%, and overall for the district 5.0%. We are endeavoring to continue to increase those numbers in the positive so that we can see that we are growing more and improving more. So the attendance data is tracking excused, unexcused, and out-of-school suspension absences. Our next goal was to attract and hire and retain high-quality leaders and staff. And this was based on surveys, focus groups, spec ed monitoring, attrition rates, just to name a few of the data points that we used. For implementing data human capital strategies, we had mentioned in April that we were beginning the hiring process for the 23-24 school year. And these are the interviews that occurred in each of these weeks to begin looking for staff for the 23-24 school year. We also had a goal of having at least 8 job fairs be attended for the school year. We know that the year prior to that, there was only 3 or 4 job fairs attended. We actually exceeded our goal of 8, and there were at least 10 attended. There were more scheduled, but some of the job fairs were canceled based on the organization that was holding them not having enough people interested to attend. Also, under the hire and retain, we talked about professional learning and the need for the schools to provide the teachers training and professional development that would help them to feel supported as well as competent in what they were needed to do. As we discussed, we only have 10 professional development days in this district, and 3 of those are virtual based on the negotiated contract, which moves it down to 7, and 3 of that 7 is at the beginning of the school year. Therefore, the PLC time is used widely to provide professional development and help our teachers get the instruction that they need. These are just some of the different trainings and professional development that the teachers receive throughout the year. Our next goal was about professional development and collaboration, as well as analyzing data to help our students, our teachers be able to increase student understanding and growth and achievement. We will get data in August. All the data just came in for Keystone July 17th. We have already started to disaggregate that as well. And as it's normal, I will give the comprehensive plan presentation this month, and then the next month, Dr. Lowry follows with whatever data that we've had. So that data will be coming to show you where we are in Keystone. I want to say, was it June that we had the PSSA data? The PSSA data we shared with you in June. Thank you. Our next one was to provide professional development for all staff and purchase resources that would help with our social emotional learning. We know that that is key with all the trauma that has been faced, not just due to COVID, but a variety of other things that are going on in this world, in our community, and then sometimes in the household. So for professional learning, social emotional learning, we have already scheduled our upcoming PD, Dr. Lowry. So we have already scheduled to have fall training for our secondary staff as well as our elementary staff. We've already had July 10th, some training for our administration, and we will also have some more fall training for our coordinators of climate and our building administration. One of the things we talked about in our retreat thus far is actually calibrating what the climate coordinators are doing in each building to help ensure that our students are getting what they need, especially in terms of some counseling to help make good choices as well as peer mediation. One of the big things that we wanted to track was that we were providing a variety of supports to meet the needs of the students. I kept the tracking up there for each marking period just to show what each of the schools were doing and what kind of, how many students they were meeting, as well as in the far right type of supports. We included all the supports that that particular school was providing. In one of the earlier updates, we shared when there were questions about what types of counseling were offered from each of the different organizations. So these are our first three schools, these are our next two schools, and then our final two schools, as we see everybody is offering a diversified types of support. So we are completing July's 27th today. Our next update is due October 26th, which would be the start up of the things that we will be including for the first marking period. And that is why during the July retreat, we actually reviewed the entire PowerPoint and discussed as a team things that we needed to put in place to ensure that we were meeting the needs of the students. Questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
As far as your report, why, the board doesn't have a copy of your report?
So we said to you right before it started that we would get you a copy after we would print it out. It was just printed out beforehand.
Okay, but I like to read it and, instead of just going through it.
Okay.
And, cause I could have some questions, for you during the time that you are reporting.
Okay.
And I did want to ask, I really, okay, as far as attendance, you said that you and your cabinet have discussed to get your students to come more often. What have you and your cabinet discussed for the students to come to class more often?
So it wasn't the cabinet, it was the entire administrators of the district.
Okay.
During the retreat. And so we talked about how we saw improvement from contacting parents. Some administrators said they wanted to do more with that. We talked about one of the things that we did was we changed which was mid-year, our attendance clerks, remember we're part-time. We changed them to full-time, but that happened mid-year. So it's very difficult to see a big change when you make something happen during the beginning of the year. But because it had to be negotiated with their union, we had to wait to get that started. And then we calibrated what we were counting for attendance. In the middle of last year, we looked at lateness and said, some schools were counting, because in this district, they don't really count lateness as it doesn't become an absence, it's just a lateness. So we calibrated on making sure every school was using the same terms and the same amount of days of lateness. We also did increasingly the teacher reaching out to the parent as well as the attendance clerk. And then I had some principals even said that they wanted to hold some meetings with some of them. I also think just the incentives that we're adding in, as we continue to add them, we've seen students improve. And I do believe having the announcement at the first meeting of the students who had all year perfect attendance and then receiving something, some other people will be inspired to do the same.
So was it a big help when you guys had contact the parents?
Yes, I mean, when we look at the numbers, I mean, you see we've improved in some of the schools that were having the more incentives. You saw the numbers that increase, from one year to the next. I mean, we're not satisfied. We're going to continue to grow, but we are glad to see that we are growing from where we were.
Just out of curiosity, what have you been saying to the parents for them to make sure that their kids are attending school?
So I haven't having to say that. That would be the building. That would be, but I'm sure the conversation should be about the importance of attending school and the importance of being there for the instruction. Most of the students, I would believe, if we looked at their data, their academic data, then it's probably not as, it's not reaching the potential it could if they are not coming. Like,
Right,
only a
that's what
few-
I'm saying.
yeah.
What is it that y'all have been doing to make progress of making sure that the students are attending more in school? As
Having-
far as the teachers and all the teachers in each building?
So they're talking about the importance of the attendance, the importance of the grades. Sometimes, depending on what the situation is, there may have to be another program put in place. They may have, when we look into social emotional, some of the outside resources that have been provided, some of those things are because of the attendance as well, hooking them up with other social organizations for if it's things dealing with their needs.
Okay, what about lateness? I'm sorry, I had missed some information that you was putting out about lateness. So
So
can
we
you explain
targeted
again?
We targeted that after 5 latenesses in a marking period, they couldn't get perfect attendance for that marking period, because we want that to improve. And where before, they were just getting perfect attendance if they were just late. Some school districts do something like, after an hour, you're no longer counted as late, you're counted as like a quarter of a day absence, or things like that. This district, we have not done that, so to just spring that on the parents would not have been appropriate. So we're first starting by working on incentivizing the positive behaviors that we're seeing with attendance, and then moving from there. Because
Right,
it would be you would
right.
need a whole system to track if you were counting, lateness or early dismissals.
Okay, I'm a little confused. I think I need you to clarify that after 5 latenesses, there is no perfect attendance
For that marking period.
for that marking period. So if they're late for 4 times, what do you consider that as?
They could still get perfect attendance,
Well, why is that?
because we have to grow. We can't just overnight change. Before that, they could be late the entire marking period and still get perfect attendance. Right? You have to work with the system you have in place and grow them to a certain area. So we talked about it as administration, and that was agreed upon number.
Right, but do you think that would prepare them for, especially high schoolers, you think that will prepare them for the working world? If they're late 5 times, there's no perfect attendance, but it's okay to be late 4 times and it won't be considered as being late?
So if you remember when we did the comprehensive plan, each year, it's a 3-year plan, each year you increased on what you had to do. So we did 5, so this year we could choose to do 3, but we gotta get them there. But they're going from being able, in a 42-day marking period, be late all 42 days and have perfect attendance, to now only being late 5 out of the 42. So we've already increased the expectation, but we gotta work with what we have, and looking at where the attendance was, we're making progress, but we have to grow them to that.
I understand that, but I mean, especially with the high schoolers, you still have to prepare them, because if you have a job and they are late at, 2-3 times, they could get written up. So do you think by them being late 4 or 5 times, that will prepare them for the working world?
I think we have to grow them to that. I don't think it would have been fair if we've allowed 42 to then say 0.
Again, but do you think that would prepare them for the working world? Because if we accept them to be late at 4 times, then they graduate and they start working, and the job says you can't be late no more than 2 or 3 times. Do you think that's preparing them?
I think we're getting them to improve, which is what our goal is, and at some point, we will get them there. But you're not going to get me to say that just because they were late 4 times, we are not preparing them, because that might be there 4 times all year. And
No, but I was just talking,
but who-
just like you were saying, one,
Can I finish?
report period.
Can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So who in this room, very few, right, who haven't been late a couple of times throughout the year? So I'm not gonna assume that my students are doing the worst and that they're coming in every marking period 5 times every marking period. And if
Right.
they are, then I would say the administration or the attendance clerk or guidance is counseling them with that. And then we're going to celebrate when they improve on that and hopefully continue to get them to do better. But this is a habit that has been in place for many years.
So suppose you have a 12th grader that's going through this, and they've been going through this from 9th to 12th. So, I mean, how do you get that student to make sure that he or she is coming to school on time?
So all we can do is work with them, but let's be very honest, even in the workforce, we experience that. It's true. And we are not going to get that corrected in every individual. We're
Right,
not.
but that's what I'm saying, because everybody knows in the workforce, everybody knows once you are late at an X amount of time, they can fire you and get another person just like that. So that's why I'm saying about our students, how we can prepare them for the workforce to let them know that you have to do better than being late 4 to 5 times.
That's what the conferencing and the meetings are for, and the parent contacts are for.
Right.
Right? It takes a whole village to raise a child, and we're all working together to get them there.
Right, that's why I was asking you, so when you're contacting the parents, are they participating with you? I mean, what is it that you're saying to the parents for them to make sure that their child or children are coming to school on time?
So once again, I am not, the superintendent is not meeting with a parent to say, your child's not coming to school. If I'm meeting with the parent, then the behaviors have escalated way beyond the attendance piece.
Right, but
So-
but by you being the superintendent, you still will have a number from each school and each grade that's being late. You will have a percentage.
But you're asking me about the conversation.
Okay.
So I told you what the conversation
Right.
should surround.
Right.
But I cannot tell you verbatim because I am not sitting there while the counselors, the teachers, or the administrators are talking to them about the attendance.
So you
But
don't
it-
get feedback?
It should be, not that kind of feedback, not about what they're saying word for word, no.
Well, it's not word for word, but you would get, like a category, the parent don't care, or a category, the parent is trying, a category that, whatever. That's why I was asking you if you're getting the feedback to know the percentage of the kids, and the percentage of the parents that is, trying to get their kids to do the right thing. That's why I was asking you, do you have a percentage of, or do you have communication with the counselors to know the percentage of the problem that's going on with their attendance?
So that communication from the counselors, as well as the attendance clerk, who should be the first one on a first person on the ground level. when
Right.
Dealing with the attendance.
Right.
That communication should be occurring with the assistant principal and the principal.
Okay,
That wouldn't come to me, and even between me and them is Dr. Ryan, who's over attendance. He is our pupil personnel person that deals with attendance and discipline.
right,
So it's a lot of people in the mix. But I'm very rarely going to have a conversation unless it's something extreme
right.
about a student did not come to school.
But how do you get your reports?
Because we have created Google Docs, and they report everything in, and I pull it, print it out, and disaggregate the data.
So you only pull up numbers, but you don't pull up the problems or the solution?
So no, we talk in our administrative meetings.
Oh, okay,
And we pull up the charts, I ensure that their data is right, and then they share out things that's working, things not working, and then they talk together as well so that people can take on other things. And so that's why you'll see in some of the charts in the back, it's telling you all the type of things that are being done. In my charts, if there's a student for, let's say, social emotional health support, it has the student's name, their grade, and what kind of supports that student was given. But that information, of course, is not gonna be shared out today, so
right,
I'm just putting what the normal, things that occur.
right. So how often do you have, meetings with your, cabinet? Is it once a week?
The cabinet, we
Yeah.
meet weekly. The Senate, we meet every other month because they also have a printed principals meeting as well.
So your cabinet, you meet weekly?
Yes,
Okay,
we had one this morning.
okay. And do
We
you
pull
meet in the
together.
boardroom?
No,
How do you meet?
I meet in my office because anybody can walk into the boardroom and the things that we're discussing are confidential.
So all your cabinets in your office?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So only thing I'm asking, in the future, can you give the board, the information of your report before you report it? So that way I could know what other questions I may have for you?
Sure.
Because I mean, you wasn't going fast, but, I just wasn't keeping up with the numbers, so.
No problem.
I appreciate.
And I usually give you a copy, but today, as you know, I was out. so
Okay.
I had to get it when I could get to it.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Winder.
Thank you.
I just have two questions. One
Yes, ma'am.
is, what is considered late in the district? Like what time? An
Any-
hour after start time?
No, that was what we talked about. There's no real, you're just late up until you're early dismissed. So, I try to get a pulse on that myself because I come from a place where after an hour, you're no longer late. You came to school 3/4 of a day. And then after 3 hours, you came to school a half a day. And after 4.5 hours, you came to school a quarter of a day. So they didn't have that. We
So
don't
how do
have
they,
that.
okay, so the other question, I just want to put this on your radar. So the PIMS report, the PIMS report, you're supposed to be reporting to the state how the students come how they come into our buildings, either full day, half day. So what do they report? This is not for now,
Okay,
because this.
I'm gonna write it down.
Right. So what are they reporting to the state? Are they reporting that these students come in the whole entire day and they come in late? Are they reporting to the state that they come in late? Are they reporting to the state they didn't come in? Because this is the stuff, the state reports that you have to put in and send to the state. That's number one. Number two is, the goal, the percentage goal for attendance. Have y'all finalized that? So, for instance, my building is expected, well, the district I work for is at 89.5% for each building. Do we have that here?
So what we put in the plan for this particular 3 years was to increase, I want to say by 10%.
10%
Right.
from what percentage?
from their own baseline,
Whose baseline?
each school.
So there's not
And
a
the district.
district?
As well as the district. So, but the first thing we had to do when we did the plan, remember, we didn't really have a baseline. So we've now set the baseline by looking at our 21, 22, and 22, 23 year.
So
right?
the district,
Because we can't go by a baseline from pre-COVID, knowing that COVID has infected. So right now, the first year, it would be.
no, moving forward.
Yeah, so then the next, the baseline would come off from what the number,
So we're doing, so it's
60.35.
individual buildings, not the district, like,
It's overall, both, it's both,
so what is the district's percentage?
60.35. That's where we are. That's not, so we got to increase from there and increase from there
Okay.
till we can get there.
And then the buildings have their individual.
And they have their individuals, and that's why I gave you the chart.
So I'm gonna recommend, because every building should not have their own baseline. It should be whatever the district has. So if the district goal is 60.35%, then the school should be trying to beat 60.35%. You understand what I'm saying? But I understand that there was nothing, it was a muck. So what I'm saying is, there has to be some type of accountability for.
So what we can ask for is that they don't go under the district one. But
Right,
like,
right.
I got some schools here that have 74 and 68, so their 10% needs to be 10% of 68, which is 6.8
Right.
or 7%. So what normally the process will be, don't go under the district overall. And as long as everybody does that, we'll all continue to move
Correct.
up. So that's why we actually have the numbers, so that everybody can have their numbers and know exactly where they are, and it should be a part of their individual school plans
Right.
from this time forward.
So my suggestion, because I'm only one board member, is that the minimum for the whole district is not to, the minimum will be 60.35%.
Yep.
Because that's all the questions I have for this.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Wynder.
On this side, any questions? Okay, thank you.
May I have a motion to accept the agenda as submitted?
Motion.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We had some meetings. The board had some meetings, June 22nd, 2022 was our regular board meeting. Then we had two special meetings in June the 20th and June 28th. So I want to make sure that I make that note. I have some comments for the president's report, but that will be later on in the, before the adjournment.
Ms. Monroe, what's that?
yes.
Just a correction on the dates. The special board meetings were June 28th, and then there was another special board meeting on 7/20.
July
July-
20,
July
I'm sorry,
20,
yes,
yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to amend this agenda? Oh, shoot. Can I have? The lights went out. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our June 22nd, 2023 regular board business meeting?
Second.
It has been properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion to amend? I thought we did that. Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry. Can I have a motion to approve June 28, 2023 special board meeting and July 20th, 2023 special board meeting?
So moved.
It has been properly moved in second. All in any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to amend the current agenda to table table under new business, letter C, HR numbers 12 and 13. 13 and 14. Under HR, 13 and 14.
So moved.
It has been properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any questions on the treasurer's report or the bills? Are there any questions on the treasury reports or the bills? Are there any questions on the treasury report or the bills? Seeing none, may I have a motion for the payment of $7,914,265.26?
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. There are no older unfinished business. New business. Item 9, under new business, letter A, education. Are there any questions? Numbers 1 through 8. There are no finance items. Under B, C, human resources. Are any question items 1 through 14? Well, 1 through 12. Seeing none. Are there any questions on D, policies, numbers 1 through 3? Seeing none. There are no property items.
Ms. Monroe, if you could just go back and ask, I don't believe that you asked if there are any questions on the treasurer's report?
I put them both together,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yes.
Okay.
Treasury report and bills for payment. Mhm. Are there any public comments regarding agenda items?
None.
Now, we will go through the motions for voting. May I have a motion to approve new business A, education items 1 through 8?
So moved.
It's been properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion to accept HR items numbers 1 through 12?
So moved.
Are there any questions? It's been properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion for item D, policy?
Second.
It has been properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. County Community Committee reports. Mrs. Woodfolk, Delaware County Community College.
Madam President, no, I don't have a report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woodfolk. Delaware County Intermediate Unit, I have no report at this time. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I do. If your student applied for the technical school, you should have received your acceptance letter with information on what your next steps are moving forward. And the first day for the technical school will be September 5th, 2023. Legislative Council, PSBA, Mr. Fowler.
Not at this time, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Parent Student Advisory Committee, Ms. Perry is not here. Dr. Ryan, can you please come up? Thank you.
Good evening. Hello? Good evening. Unfortunately, the Parent-Student Advisory Committee that was supposed to happen on Monday needs to be postponed. We are looking at a date in early August, and as soon as we have the agenda and the date confirmed, we will make a global announcement and post the information on our website.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Mr. Diorio, do you have a solicitor's report?
Nothing tonight, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Dr. Weiner, do you have administrative team update report?
Yes, I will call Mr. Richard Sharon up to just give us a few words as our newly appointed principal of the Academy Park High School.
Good evening to everyone, board members, guests. I am Richard Sharon, and I am the proud newly appointed principal of Academy Park High School. I have been serving in an interim role at Academy Park and got to know the students, staff, family, many of you, community members as well, and I have enjoyed every second. What I would like to make very, very clear is that the team at Academy Park is a good team and is ready to work. The students at Academy Park are great students who are eager to work. They just need us to be there and help guide them in the right direction. And my public comments for all of the guests are, if showing up to a board meeting is important to you, that means you're invested in the county, which means you are also invested in Academy Park. And as much work as we have to do, we know we need all hands on deck. And so all concerned community members who want to see Academy Park do well, you are also invited. So I will reach out officially to board members for your opportunity to come meet, ask me any questions, give any suggestions, and community members. You will also see announcements and information on when our doors are open, because we need everybody. And we are proud and ready to work. Thank you for the opportunity.
Comments from citizens concerning non-agenda items. We have two, and then we have one from Representative DeLoso.
John Lafferty.
Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of comments about safety and buses. At Calkinhook Road and Poplar Street, there's a tree that sits right in front of the elementary school. I asked someone last May to chop the tree down because the tree was hitting the kids on the top of their heads. I went back to the drugstore this Saturday. The tree is now hitting me on the shoulder. So you have children that are going to be walking to school soon, and somebody's going to poke an eye, get something caught in their ear or whatever, and you're going to hurt somebody, and you're going to take their ability to learn, see, whatever. My one question was, does the school district, because I'm looking down here at the trucks, do you have a bucket truck? Then the street at Calkinhook Road and Elmwood Avenue. Okay, there's one row of homes. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Curtis Park train station. The kids on that one block are actually going down and walking down underneath the tracks, which is dark. The glass is down there broken, and they're coming up so they don't have to walk up Calkinhook Road. Is there any way that you guys can manipulate, talk to Amtrak, because that's whose responsibility that is? Either that or there's a lot of buses that do come up there in the morning because I see them every morning. Ask one or two buses to stop at that stop sign and pick a kid up if he's sitting there, if he's standing there. That way he doesn't get caught down and all that damage. And it usually, underneath that thing, it'll go 6 to 8 inches on one little rainstorm. The rainstorms we just had, it's going to be 10 to 12 inches of water there. So now you have a kid walking in there and being wet. That's not good for him. One of the best things that I've seen is video chat with the parents as the kids are walking to school. But what happens is when they get to the, can you put it in that little pamphlet book you guys talked about a couple times when I was here? To have them stop, because what tends to happen is when they're video chat, their heads down, your walk gets shorter, so now they're going slower, and guess who's the biggest offense of texting? The people driving on Calkinhook Road. So they're not even seeing a child cross the street. Because I've already literally grabbed 6 kids and put them so they don't get hit. If you could put that in, just stop the video. I mean, I do talk to them and tell them, wait till you get across the street and then say goodbye to your mom. Tell her you love her. And that's what you have to do. I mean, these are the little things that I know you're the big thing that you got going on, but I'm not seeing the little things. And if you can correct these little things, it would be much appreciated for the students and for the adults dropping off their kids. And you know what? We'll leave it at that. And thank you for your time. No problem.
Hi, everybody. Francesca Barley, 418 Lafayette Ave. I'm just coming up here to continue from the card that I put in last week, and Madam President asked if I could come again this week to talk about it. I just kind of wanted to talk about the clear book bags because per policy, the kids are required to have them, I think, from 6th grade on. And I know one year we did provide, and I guess the next year we didn't provide, I think, was my understanding. I just want to make sure that all the parents are aware before they move into the next grade. We do allow the kids to have their own book bags, but they have to put them in the locker. They can't carry them through the building. Like if you want to carry books in the building, you have to have a clear book bag. So I think that's really important to let parents know ahead of time so they don't go out and buy a fancy book bag if they, they have to have the clear. And if we were providing them, I know there's a lot of book bag drives going on right now and giveaways. but no clear. And I just got brought to the attention that Five Below does have clear ones with different, I don't know how durable they are, but Five Below does have them. So I don't know if, that's something you guys are considering. I just want parents to be aware of the clear book bags and if we're providing them or not providing them, or, I buy my kids own, but I just want to make sure everybody's ready for that. Thank you.
So are we doing clear book bags?
It's part of policy. It's part of the guidelines at this time. Now, last year, we did provide some as
So are we
well.
providing?
Last 2 years.
Yeah, the
Are
last
we
During
providing this year, or,
It was not planned.
okay, so parents need to go purchase a clear book bag?
So we will have Dr. Ryan, if you would make an all-call, just reading what the requirements are. But if you could just wait till Monday, so you can send us what you have, and we can make sure. We know last year there was a concern about 1 or 2 words that was in the all-call that was made. So we can just look at how to tweak that and get it out for Monday.
Thank you. We did have a, a communication from a constituent. However, she did not provide her mailing address, so I'll just give you a gist of it, board members, and then I'll send you a copy of it with Dr. Winder. The parent says she was just notified on July 21st that Knowledge Points would not be the child care provider at Harris. And she was concerned about the YMCA not taking CCIS. So if we can get back to her. The second thing is there's a back-to-school community resource event Saturday, August 5th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Delcroft School, 799 School Lane, Fallcroft, PA 19032. And this is from State Representative David M. Deloso, right? Deloso. He also will be providing some constituents with information on state government-related programs and services available. The members and staff, you will be able to meet his staff. His office is located on Orange Avenue in Derby Township, down this end. And they will be able to assist you with the government-related problems you may be having with your home. So there will be giveaways. I'll make sure that this flyer, I believe we already have it, that is posted for us. And it's going to be filled, that event will be filled with snacks and information and resources for the community. So hopefully everyone can come. His group is called CCAG, and they will be attending, providing free teacher totes to teachers and school administration. They will also be providing free school supplies to parents and students who make it out to the event. This is their second year participating in this event, and very excited about being invited and being able to offer supplies for the community. There also will be a donation for the Knights Chamber store, and they will drop off any donations received to the school as they come in for the 2023-2024 school year. And that is all, unless someone else has any more communications. Seeing none. Before I do the announcements for the future board meetings, I have provided to the board members, and hopefully they gave it to you, Dr. Winder, Dr. Ryan Winder, Mr. Butler, and Dr. Yorio, some things that the leadership of this board would like to do moving forward. One of them is making sure that receiving information in a timely manner. Also, to know your responsibility as a board member. Another piece, and I'll make sure I have this all out in writing for you for the next board meeting, is to know your role as a board member and know how to enter into any building that's in our district, making sure that you are going to the office, you're signing in, you're letting someone know you're in the building. Also, your interactions with staff members, making sure that are not in there thinking or acting in such a way that can put any board member or the district in jeopardy. And if any interaction that occurred that can be seen or deemed as negative, that you notify the leadership of the board and the superintendent as soon as possible, meaning within less than 24 hours, so that it's no misunderstanding. And so that the board members understand that you, relatives, and/or affiliates of you cannot go into buildings throwing your weight around as a board of director. It is unethical and unacceptable. So hopefully moving forward, we don't have any of these types of issues for the 23-24 school year. The leadership, myself and Mr. Fowler, look forward to serving the district, the board, in a way that benefits students and not personal agendas. Mr. Fowler.
President Monroe said it all. We're here for the students, and that's what we're going to do. And if there's any problems, you can always reach out to anybody, and we're here to get the job done. Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Whitfield.
Madam President, there were 4 issues that you was talking about. One was information and the board give out information in a timely manner. Know your role and as a board member. What was the third one? I'm sorry.
Oh, nepotism. So using your power as a board member to dictate how a school building should be ran and/or your affiliates.
Didn't you say something about when you enter the building?
Right, so when you go into a building, you should not just be saying, hey, I'm a board member, I'm walking through this building. I sign in every time I go into a building. The first place I go to is the principal's office.
Right.
Right. I let the principal know, because that's respectful.
Right, okay.
That I'm in your building.
Right,
Now, if the principal wants to walk me around, fine.
right,
Does he have to walk me around?
no.
No, right? And to be all honest and transparent, you really shouldn't be in a building without your clearances anyway.
I was getting ready to say, because I don't sign in, I always have my badge with me.
Right, so your badge is basically that bridge.
Okay,
But, so if you had a child in the school, your child should not be thrown around that my mom is on the school board.
oh, no.
So
no,
what
I
I'm
don't agree
saying
with that,
is,
yeah.
we need to hold ourselves accordingly. As such, we will hold anybody else accordingly,
Okay.
all right?
I just wanted to make it clear that when you say about signing in, I never sign in. I
Well,
always
some
have-
buildings don't ask you to sign in.
Right, but I make sure I go to the office
Correct,
first
yes.
before I do my rounds.
Correct,
Okay,
I will hope so.
thank you.
Are there any questions or concerns? Did I miss anything? All right. Oh, and then we need to set a date for our retreat for the board members, and then Dr. Winder and I will set a meeting up when you're free. Dr. Winder and I set up a meeting free. So, announcements for the future meeting. Committee of the Whole is Thursday, August 17th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Board business meeting Thursday, August 24th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Seeing there's no other business to be had tonight, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming out. Please be safe. Good night.